Hello everybody and welcome back to another Draft League Top 10. Today we are talking about my top 10 favorite slow momentum users. So slow momentum is obviously the opposite of fast momentum. These are Pokemon that generally use their bulk to take a hit and then switch out into something a bit more offensive or something that has a better matchup. Something like that to put you in a better spot against the Pokemon that it took the hit from, basically. Anyway, number 10, I'm looking at Electros. Pretty versatile mon. Has some the U-turn and Volt Switch potential, so it's got those offensive stats on both sides that are pretty useful and a pretty decent bulk. It's also got no weaknesses, so since it's an electric type with Levitate, its one weakness of ground type is negated with that ability, but obviously things like Mold Breaker and Terravolt and stuff can still break through that, so that's something to watch out for. But generally this thing can take at least one hit from anything, because it's got no weaknesses. There's not a lot that would be able to take it out in one hit outside of maybe like some Z moves. And it's got decent offensive stats, so even if you want to build it really bulky, and you don't want to invest into the offenses too much, then you don't really have to. You can still get some decent chip and chunk, though outside of that it's not super threatening. Generally you'll see this run like with an assault vest or something like that, which is allows it to take special hits even better, which is nice. Invested into one of the attacks as well, so it can get threatening, but in general it's just going to be getting chip and like turning out, take a hit, stuff like that. It does get recovery through Drain Punch and Giga Drain, I believe, are its main recovery moves, but it doesn't have any super reliable recovery. Something, if it got something like Recover or something like that, it'd be really good because of that no weaknesses thing that it's got going on. Kind of slow, but I mean that's what a slow momentum user is for, right? Number 9, we are looking at Lantern. So gets Volt Absorb and Water Absorb, so it can be run either way depending on what your team is threatened by. It has a really nice HP stat. Its defensive stats aren't the highest, but with the HP stat it balances out to be quite a bulky mon. Very low offensive stats, unfortunately, but I mean you're still going to be able to get some nice chip with Volt Switches from that special attack and the stab boost, obviously, which is still pretty decent. No reliable recovery either, and for utility it's only really got like Thunder Wave and Heal Bell, which can be useful, but like it would be cool if this thing got something like Defog, or I mean I don't know how it would defog, but Lumineon manages it, so why can't Lantern? So yeah, it's not going to be hitting hard. It's going to just sit there and tank a couple of hits. You can rest up, I guess, but like this thing generally going to run like a Heal Bell Toxic or Heal Bell Thunder Wave, depending on what you want it to use it for. Then you'll have the Volt Switch most likely, and probably Scald, something like that. So it's a pretty decent slow momentum user for a low tier pick, but it's definitely not going to be hitting very hard. Next up we've got Serena. Pretty decent bulk, 72 HP, 98 in each defense is nice. 120 attack is good as well. So like you can invest straight into bulk and not worry about attack, or you can hit even harder if you want to invest into attack. It doesn't really matter. Once again, Assault Vest is a nice item on this mon, because it can U-turn out, it can still rapid spin. Though if you don't run Assault Vest, you can have things like Synthesis, and I think like Aromatherapy and stuff like that, so there is some utility and some recovery there as well. And Queenly Majesty is a pretty nice pretty nice ability as well, allowing you to switch into priority moves. Only thing with Serena really is it wants to run too many moves. Like it gets some nice coverage with like play rough and I think high jump kick and stuff like that, knockoff and rapid spin and synthesis and U-turn and like prop kick as well, and then you can get power whip and seed bomb I think for some different stab options. But there's so many things that it wants to run that it struggles to decide sometimes. Um, but definitely a good bulky grass type and removaler and a slow U-turner, so it's pretty cool. It's definitely decent mid-tier pick to add to a team if yeah, if you need a bulky grass type. Number 7, we're looking at Uxie, another levitator, so it can switch in on ground moves and stuff like that, except for 1,000 arrows obviously, but it's got enough bulk that it can generally take 1,000 arrows still, though it doesn't have a lot that's going to threaten a Zygarde otherwise. Has some nice utility moves as well, Stealth Rocks, Trick Room, Trick, all kinds of cool things like that. Low offensive stats once again, and no reliable recovery, but very bulky, and it's definitely a favorite of mine. Probably my favorite of the 3 Island Guardians, but Lake Guardians, sorry, Island Guardians of the Tapus. Yeah, probably my favorite Lake Guardian. So definitely a nice pick to have. Number 6 is Golbat and Gligar. I think I've used both of these in a list before as well, and these are basically fill the same roles on a team. Bulky defog slash stealth rocker. In the case of Gligar, very nice utility support for a team. Though the Eviolite reliance is sucks a little bit because you knock that off and you lose a lot of your ability to use these guys to switch into stuff. So always something to watch out for there. And obviously there's not the highest defensive stats, but like you're using these guys for a little bit of utility anyway, and momentum helps with that. Yeah, so not a ton to say about either of these. Well, not a ton more, I guess I should say, but they're both decent picks. If you're looking for an Eviolite user, these are 2 of the better ones in my opinion. Powerless one's also good, but obviously that doesn't get the U-turn, so I'm not really talking about it in this situation. Gligar does also get Baton Pass. It also gets agility, so if you are in a speed passing league, then Gligar can be pretty cool as well. Number 5, Landorus T. Can also be run like Scarf and stuff like that, but I do like running this a bit bulkier, a bit slower. Obviously, that does open it up to that ice weakness that it has. Like if you have Landorus on your team, your opponent is 100% bringing HP Ice on like everything, or ice coverage at the very least. So Landorus Syrian has to watch out for that. But it gets that Intimidate, which is nice. You can cycle the Intimidates with the U-turns, which is pretty cool. It has some decent bulk, 89, 90, and 80. And then good offensive stats, so you don't have to invest into them either, especially on the physically offensive side. So your knockoffs are still going to be doing alright, your earthquakes are still going to be doing alright. Can have defog as well, which is pretty cool. U-turn defog is not a bad combination to have. It does get no reliable recovery though, so if you're cycling out on things like Stealth Rocks and stuff like that, you're going to be getting chipped and not being able to do much about it, which is definitely going to put you in range of HP Isis and stuff like that. But, I mean, chuck a Yachi Berry on this and you'll be able to get your Stealth Rocks up and U-turn out, get your Stealth Rocks up or U-turn out, stuff like that. So, definitely just a very reliable mon for a team. One of the like staples of the OU tier, and like it's just very reliable and very versatile and can fit on any team basically. So always a good addition to have. Number 4, I'm looking at Jirachi. So this guy has like a ton of speed. Is like 100 speed isn't bad either, but I prefer to run this a bulky, like bulky with like Wish, U-turn, Stealth Rock, stuff like that. It is obviously a very good Scarfer as well because it gets that Serene Grace with Iron Head and stuff like that. So you are foregoing that if you run Jirachi as a slow momentum user. But I mean, I feel like it is quite a good set a lot of the time as well. It's got a good defensive typing with that Steel and Psychic type. Can take a lot of hits, and with the bulk, it really helps as well. I mean, yeah, it's a good mon. It's very nice. I like using it for sure. But yeah, as I said, you miss out on a lot of that taxing potential if you run this as a bulky Wisher, U-turner, stuff like that. But I think it's worth it a lot of the time. Being able to Wish and then U-turn into something to pass that Wish can be pretty clutch. Number 3, we're looking at Scizor and Mega Scizor. So very good defensive stats, especially physical defense. Very good offensive stats, especially when it evolves into Mega Scizor. With the attack stat at least. And I mean, even with 65 special attack with the Technician boost, HPs are still going to be hitting pretty decent. So they only have one weakness as well, which is obviously that 4x fire weakness. So obviously that's something to watch out for. But being able to switch into most other moves, depending on which way you've bulked up, is still pretty cool. It does get U-turn and Baton Pass. It does also get agility. So once again, if you're in a speed boosting league, then Baton Pass with Speed Pass could be pretty useful. And it does get reliable recovery with Roost. Get some nice moves as well, like Bullet Punch for Sam Priority that helps it with its speed as well. But it does threaten out a lot of things, and like it likes to just be a threat to things that it can Bullet Punch for a kill, and then just U-turn to get that momentum back. A very strong mon, and yeah, just a all-round good bug. Number 2 is Zapdos. Once again, this can be run more speedy as well, more offensively, but I do like to run it defensively. It does get access to Volt Switch and U-turn, so it can still get momentum against a team that has a ground type, which is very nice. Gets that static as well, so if you're taking physical hits, you have a chance of getting paralysis off on your opponent as well, which is pretty cool. Reliable recovery through Roost is always nice. And then it's got decent bulk, and once again, it can still hit pretty decently even if you don't invest in the special attack stat, so that's pretty cool. But then again, it does have that Rocks weakness, which is going to chip it a little bit whenever it switches back in, which it'll be doing if you're using a Volt Switch / turn set. But it does get the defog and the Roost, so it's still a very useful mon to have, for sure. Bane of my existence, to be honest. Next up is Silvally. Now, I don't know if you guys really know like the favorites of mine that I like to use in Draft League, but Silvally is definitely near the top of my list of favorite mons to use in Draft League. I just like the versatility of it being able to be any type. And obviously it can be offensive and stuff as well, but most of the time you're running this as a defensive type that you really need, and then you're running it with Parting Shot and Defog, and then 2 coverage moves or something like that. So it is relatively predictable, and it doesn't get any reliable recovery either, which is it does kind of suck on a mon that you're using to take hits and then switch out. But Parting Shot is just so good, and the fact that it gets U-turn as well means that you can still use it against teams that have like a magic bounce or something like that, which is really useful as well. So yeah, I really like Silvally, and that's why it's top of my list here in the slow momentum. There's probably better slow momentum picks to use. Like, use your judgment in that, but Silvally is my favorite, and that's why it's here. So I don't know if that's surprising to any of you, but those that have known me for a while will know. Probably could have guessed that this guy would be up the top here. So yeah, thank you for watching, everyone. That's been my top 10 slow momentum users. I think what's next on the list, I can't remember. Versatile mons or low tier mons or megas, even megas, it could be one of those. It's going to be the next one. We'll see. I've got a few of these planned for the pipeline, so we will see you for our next one, and thank you for watching, and we'll catch you later.